So I was just watching a video about one of my favorite actresses of all time. That's Dorothy Dandridge, and they always dubbed her the Black Marilyn Monroe. But you know, they have to put it in a way where they're most comfortable, and it's never what a person is saying, it's what they're not saying. So when there's no shade to Marilyn Monroe, because she's the shit too, you know what I'm saying, it's really her being a white Dorothy Dandridge. I could not agree with that 8,000, 8 million, 8 gazillion, 8 billion people in the world more. Okay? What's up, y'all? Welcome to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Eccentric RockStar'Seed, and I have another collective message for you. Keep in mind, you take what resonates, you leave what doesn't. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But when I was shuffling my cards, I split them open and stop right there. What do you get? You're not for everyone. Embrace your weirdness, face your true north. And you also you're part of a star family. You're part of a team of souls, call and support. So they were like real besties in real life, those two icons. And that's why I make sure I say it does not slight Marilyn the least bit, but it definitely, if anybody was going to be slighted, they come off like they're slighting. They must feel slighted because they put it in a way where Dorothy's slighted. Like, you got to put her in Marilyn's shadow. They were, first of all, equally beautiful, you know, in their own right. But, you know, if anything, Dorothy's the captain. Dorothy's the one, the soulful one. You know what I mean? Like, do I have to say anymore? Dorothy Dandridge. Okay? There's so many symbolic messages there. First of all, she's a Scorpio. I could stop right there. She's her own eccentric RockStar'Seed. She always walks to the beat of her own drum. Like so much of Marilyn Monroe. Okay? Water your garden. Nourishment, body care, tender rest. Yeah, you're not for everyone. And you are a part of a soul family, you know? Water your garden. That's something I don't feel like. And maybe they both could have done it more. They got sucked in a lot. Maybe due to lack of watering of the spiritual garden. Okay. Let me see. Like attending to your earthly realm, like your earthly responsibilities. I wouldn't be surprised if both of these women are starseeds. You know, you're a seasonal being, like a cyclic, CYCLIC. You can't be on and in full bloom month after month, day after day after day. You're strongly being called to put on a break, rest, and refuel, right? You got to take a moment to restock and replenish and slow right on down. But I guess the pressures of being an icon doesn't always call for that. And most people who are in the limelight will resonate with what I'm saying, more so than the people who are trying to offer the advice at a lesser velocity. Or you could be working just like them, but not have that notoriety for it. But people who just hustle and just go, you know, to make a name for themselves or make a life for themselves, a name and a life for yourself, or earning a living for yourself, would understand what that means, or understand what that means. You know, your body is the only body you're given, and it needs to be respected as such. You're being called to take responsibility for your well-being, or to put your health and body first. That does speak to Dorothy Dandridge in a way, maybe Marilyn Monroe too, or people like that. But I saw that, and I just smiled, because both of them are the cat's meow, but we're not going to shadow Dorothy behind Marilyn. Okay? Dorothy is Dorothy. Okay? That's just it. I know it can feel like the time is running out, and if there's like an urgent thing that simply can't wait. However, if you keep pushing on, then the fatigue is going to set in. You know, it's a lot of pressure. I feel pressure. It's how I even brought that up. And it was like, I was thinking about some stuff, about pressure, about wanting to be on and going, but try to maintain a healthy regimen at the same time. How do I balance, you know, my strong work ethic and my talent and my beauty? Because they're beautiful too. No, hands down, both of them. You know, and as soon as I saw the clipping for Dorothy Dandridge, I saw that, and it was like, yeah. And then like the first 5 minutes summed up everything I was thinking. You know, I'm not gonna take from that person's video or content, but it resonated. Needless to say, Like the way of living, this way of living isn't sustainable. If anyone continues to race through life, eventually they will reach exhaustion, and it will take longer to recover than it would have done to rest. Immune system disorders like mystery illnesses are becoming more common because we're putting too much pressure on our bodies to keep up with the instantaneous pace of life, modern life especially. I feel like modern life now is more harsh than life was back then, and Dorothy Dandridge dealt with racism at face value. You know what I mean? You saw when they drank the pool out because she dipped her foot in it. How are you being called to put on the brakes? You know, to rest, restore, rejuvenate. When was the last time you took a holiday, or just had a full weekend, or a day, or an afternoon off? You know, look after your precious body and your mind, especially your mind, because once your mind slips, and I say this a lot, the mind is the most neglected part of self-care or just overall health consciousness, period. We take to the OBGYN more than necessary to overcompensate what's wrong with our mind. Think about what I just said. It's not vulvodynia, which was like a form of depression if your vaginal area is like having like dry symptoms, itchy symptoms that would probably be close to a yeast infection, but it's not a yeast infection, it's depression. It starts with your mind first. You got to make sure your mind is straight for everything else to align accordingly. I use that for an example because most women resonate with that. They don't get their head checked like they get their vagina checked. Like it's too much. You don't even have to bother your vagina as much as you do, but we do. Okay, out of subconscious and insecurity and peer pressure. Anyway, you're being called to give yourself enough time to recover. When you find yourself running on your reserves, there's enough time life will bend towards you when you do. It's like figure out what your body is yearning for. It could be more attention to mental health. Mother rules, returning to each other, compassion and humanity. This could be you and yourself, you and your spirituality. And on the bottom of that is the Great Mother, surrendering to the mystery, fall into her arms. I haven't memorized all these cards yet, y'all. But we're going to see. We will see. There's a lot of mothering and watering your garden. So that kind of is a clear message too. Returning to each other. Compassion, humanity, surrender. Okay. What's the psychology behind the mothering? It's like double messages. 3 messages is telling you to mother yourself. 3. So what's going on? And then we're talking about 2 icons that passed away mysteriously, where we feel like people did stuff to them. We always will believe that. Don't force things to happen when you want them to happen. Let things unfold when you and the world are ready for them. Be patient. Were they not patient? Trust is to be able to trust what you cannot yet see with your eyes. Use your imagination. Create your dreams in your mind, and they become more clear for you to see. So if you're like heavy into traveling, slow down. You got to find some way in between all of that to take a break. Acting, modeling is my strength. That's from somebody. You see, it's the star card is in there. I mean, it's the word star where the sun is right there. Yeah. Oops. Gratitude. Express gratitude that you have the opportunities that you have. Purity. That's chastity. Guard yourself. Trust. Again, I see the word trust. Healing. What are you overcompensating for? Surrender. Again, grace. Are you worried about falling from grace? Surrender. All right, let's start with the Great Mother. Usually when the Great Mother ushered you in when you took your first breath, and she'll be there when you draw your last. She knows how challenging life on earth can be. Then that at times, being human can be painful, lonely, and confusing. That the polarity and separation can be difficult when your soul remembers the oneness of source. Yeah. But at the same time, it can be incredibly glorious and sweet. It's like we often see things as either good or bad. When things go well, we make it mean that everything's okay. And when things don't work out, then perhaps we did something wrong or have something to fix. But we've forgotten that life on earth isn't like that. Polarity is at the core of the earth experience. And it's through the polar extremes that we grow the most. We're not meant to avoid the night, the shadow, and the winter. Something in your emotions and your subconscious, the shadow work. Somebody's trying to avoid doing that shadow work. That's why the surrender card is here. This life is but a single breath in its inextinguishable existence of your experience as a soul, of course. You got to surrender, which means like hand over your worries, your hurt, your sorrows, your fears, and doubts to the Great Mother, which is metaphoric for, could be the Most High, but it's the Great Mother. Could be a grandmother, a great-grandmother could be real influential for you. And she could have passed away, and you could be misplacing that grievance or still through the stages of the grieving process. And you haven't surrendered. You have not let her go yet. And remember that while these extremes are difficult, they can also be magnificent. So it's like, it's bittersweet. You remember a lot of great stuff that she taught you and the experience of having that person around. But at the same time, you haven't dealt with their death in a healthy fashion. That's what I'm getting. And that could be both your grandmothers or great-grandmothers. That unrestrained joy is closer to grief than we think. And perhaps the more wildly the pendulum of your life swings, the more you can say, I have truly lived. So maybe it's time to get into therapy or find some healthy healing mechanisms because you're not doing it well all by yourself. Or it could just to see, even if it's just to seek counsel from a therapist, like let them tell you some healthy ways of dealing. And then you have Mother Rose, returning to each other, compassionate humanity. I hope nobody is not trying to leave due to how people follow their loved ones out through a broken heart. Or maybe you're having dreams that this could be the setting of the dream. And the water could be significant for them, like holding you and being there for you, and protecting you. You remember the days where they protected you from the horrors of this world, even if you didn't understand why they were telling you or to do certain things or keeping you away from certain things or just moving you in a way that was like super protective for you, but at the cost that they were not properly taking care of themselves. They weren't properly taking care of themselves. They didn't water their grass. They forgot about themselves. They were so enamored and in love with you and making sure you were straight and just making sure you turned out the best way you know how. They didn't have patience with themselves, with what they needed for themselves. Mother Rose, humanity, compassion. I feel like your great-grandparents didn't have the best boundaries in place for what they needed to keep themselves strong, to keep themselves healthy, you know. And Mother Rose is a sacred symbol of the feminine. The rose has been here much longer than us. Even like in ancient like times, like roses were placed around statues of, you know, women figures that they call goddesses in worship of her. Now we're all what I'm getting is like you connect with God through those roses, or you connect with your grandparents that you lost through those roses. Okay, I stated this already. I grew up in a house that had a pink tea rose bushel outside on as a part of the landscaping, and that's always been significant. It's my favorite flower, so this reading might resonate with me in some ways too. It's something about the way you move, the way you think, and the way you carry yourself. They are heavily influenced and have an influence on you. And how you choose to raise your children, they're a heavy influence. They're behind it. But are you taking care of yourself? And they could be coming up a lot. Maybe in your dream state, you keep seeing your ancestors show up. That could be significant, that they're telling you, mind your health. Okay, because it's some things that you can't keep moving forward. Maybe some things are slowing down for you because you're not ready. You're not quite ready because you have to make sure you deal with these last two couple of things, or couple of people, and the way you dealt with them and their departure, the way you were in life with them, haunts you in a way. You know, if you have this card on the deck, Mother Rose is returning to union by facing what's been broken, separated, and severed. To realize that we're all human, and while harm has been done, what's needed now is for us to acknowledge, you know, what's happened and endeavor to find a way to return to each other. Maybe they're showing up because you've been working through some things, or you've been facing some trials where you're being reminded of them, of what they taught you. And it's playing on you in a way you don't even realize, because you're too busy being strong and making sure everything is together. You're not paying attention. Okay, I'm not saying you're going to have a breakdown or nothing crazy like that, but I think they're teaching you healthier ways, because somebody's grandparent were like strong mentally, like super strong. They're very spiritual beings, but were strong mentally, and they were teaching you. They would have made good doctors, needless to say, both of them, for somebody. And it's just, don't forget your humanity. Don't drop off your humanity and turn into an iRobot. And having this card, Mother Rose here, she longs for humanity. And she teaches you how to drop your defenses and reach out to each other with deep honesty and compassion, to face the untangle. You know, face and untangle all that sadness and anger and hurt from our hearts with the help of her grace. Interesting, because on the bottom of this deck is grace. Yeah, somebody definitely wish they had their grandparents right now. Or maybe survive, move past something where they needed their grandparents. And you need to rest so you can water your spiritual garden. So you got to figure out which relationships in your life are difficult for you now. Who has hurt you? You know, figure out where that hurt is coming from. How can you soften and express your truth without being too defensive? You know, and how can you open yourself to the possibility that two truths can exist in one space? So I'm going to put that right here next to surrender. And then under that is gentleness. God doesn't enter into anything without gentleness. And a part of you going through that is to teach you patience. Okay? And answer to the call of nature. And your strength is going to, the strength you're looking for, the strength you know you need, is through all those, is establishing gentleness, patience, your true nature. But you got to surrender first. and be graceful while you do it, while you communicate your truth, while you teach your truth to your loved ones. And that is your secret recipe for how you keep yourself up and how you remain so strong. You guys, I'm sniffling all over the place, but I'm blowing my nose while I'm talking to you. I mean, I'm cleaning my nose as I'm speaking to you. So thank you for your patience. Okay? But you're setting the intention to heal. All right, what is your overall, what's the overall energy? I mean, let's further amplify on what I just said. Page of Cups. That inner child. Water your garden. It's catering to that inner child, which is, excuse me, remembering what you were taught from when you were a child. This is up to like the age 25. No, Page of Cups is like children to me. Is remembering, going, peeling back the layers, excuse me, of how deep some of that hurt, some of that sadness, some of that pain really stems from childhood. Could be, or just remembering what you were taught. Maybe you lost your ancestors as a child, and life happened for you after. I can relate to that. That's why I'm thinking that could be significant. But you're being called. You might be setting an example. You could have younger siblings, or you got patience. You gotta have the patience of a child. Be more patient with your children. Somebody is as delicate and as innocent as a little baby. Okay, at least they're feeling that way right now, and they're healing through something. Something triggered that hurt. And you could have been prone to somebody or attracted to somebody because they resonate. Now you realize why you're even attracted to that person. Because they are a replica of those ancestors that you had in your upbringing. So you trust them. You know exactly what they're capable of doing. You feel safe with them. And you don't have them or being made to move forward without them. And make sure you're dealing with your health about it. Don't just skip past it and just focus on your work. You're going to have to deal with that accordingly, because that's going to be too much. That's going to break you down if you're not careful. So, baby, you're being advised to be around people who who display these characteristic traits. People who remind you. I feel like you being a wiser person, even as a child, you were very mature for your age, and being around wiser people who remind you of the people who raised you is how you kept yourself safe. It's how you protected yourself, and you don't have any of those people now. And now you feel as vulnerable as a little kid. You feel exposed in a way. I don't know, if you're not careful, it's going to create some sort of paranoia, or it could be signs of a stronger issue. Maybe not, but be careful. Make sure that you are addressing your emotions accordingly, in the utmost healthy fashion, because everybody go through stuff. We go through dips all the time. What's the challenge? What did I just say? I just stopped the reading right here. Queen of Cups. You miss your ancestors. You miss your mother. Okay? Could be a mother for somebody. You know, so this is a person who don't have everybody, or mostly everybody, that they look up to. And now that I think you can have children that look up to you. You're in that leadership position, obviously. And you're called to display those same characteristic traits. The way they coasted you and nurtured you through life. Having those people around you, you felt safe. Okay? You got to get out of that. You got to deal with those emotions so that you're not blocked off from your little ones feeling safe. It's not loneliness. It's realizing where you still need to grow. Damn. Okay, what's your strength? Reciprocity. Give to others how you were given to. Give it back. What you need to focus on. That mental clarity. That mental sharpness. How God gives you that clarity when he wants you to work on something. When he wants you to show up. What you should leave in the past. Emotionally unavailable everybody. Man or woman. It doesn't matter that it's showing up as a queen. What is the future outcome? It takes you to a peaceful, tranquil place. You're not talking nasty to nobody. You're not cursing. You're emotionally available. You don't have to be so hard-hearted and logical all the time. But you want to speak softer and gentler and establish that tranquil. Maybe you need to reestablish some tranquil because you're being too harsh in your words and your speech and how you're trying to get the message across. That means you're not emotionally tapped in or something. So how you feel about yourself? Powerful, spiritual, but it's somehow you're struggling on getting how you're getting the emotions out. Now these could be 3 different examples you had in the forms of mother or father figures, and they're all kind of trying to get their message out at the same time. Some are alive, some are not, maybe, but these are all different. These could all be different people with different ways of doing things, and you're trying to find balance in all of it and mental clarity and what you should take and leave off of from all of them. But you can only know the true intentions or why it was being taught to you if you go to the Most High. You have to ask him. What's the energy around you? Is the strength in reverse. Yeah, be careful how you're speaking. I think you're speaking in harsh tones. That's why I made a point to say God doesn't enter into anything except with gentleness. You see, this woman on this picture is a virgin. Gentleness. How you have to be gentle with a virgin is how you have to be gentle with younger people or just people, period. What are your fears? Is that you're too stubborn to learn the lesson with the Knight of Pentacles? Is moving too slow to get the message because you're trapped in your own stubbornness. So what is the final outcome? That you're going to be that you're going to get out of worrisome. You're going to be more intellectual, or using your intellect or emotional intelligence from all these mature energies that you've survived through or have survived you. You've outlived them. Dead and alive is what I'm hearing. So you learned how to water your garden through everybody's mistakes, which is a part of learning, is through mistakes. And not all of them are going to be your mistakes. Some of them are their mistakes, and you learned a lot from them. Now you know what kind of person you aspire to be and how you want to show up in your motherboard. My motherhood, myself. And this is not just for women. Men assume that role if the mother figure passed away or left the child's life in some way or another. You have to assume that position, that balance of nurturing the child's emotional needs as well as being that provider and teaching them how to take action in life. So this is a very gentle message, and it's teaching you about patience and strength. And don't throw all of those things. You already have those tricks of trade in you because you were raised by strong figures. You got Queen of Cups, Queen of Swords, Queen of Wands here, which could all be you, but they're all in different positions. The challenge is your emotional state. With the Queen of Cups, I think that a lot of these confusion or mental confusion that's coming up because there's so many different ways of going about things that you have so much knowledge that is spilling out, and sometimes it comes out a little different, a little eccentric, as they say. What you should leave in the past is the Queen of Swords energy. That's the past. You grew up by people who were a little bit more logical and less emotional, so they couldn't be there for you emotionally. Okay, it's like the Queen of Cups in that challenging position is all the people who are most nurturing and empathetic and compassionate with you. It's like once they died, you felt like you never had that anymore in life. And then how you feel about yourself is that Queen of Wands, which could be a mixture, because the swords and the wands are two warriors, the warriors of the deck, of all four queens. So you have a little bit of that swords energy, that logic, but you also have that warm heart, that compassion. And sometimes you don't know which one is supposed to be at the surface at the time of need. Like, well, which one should I be? You know, I could do this either way, but which one is best? And you know, you always got God there. What you should be focusing on is making sure that you ask him for that mental clarity, so you don't show up too harsh or too brash or too aggressive. You don't have to do this by yourself just because you lost all the important people to you. Because you never lost God. He doesn't sleep or slumber. You know, he's still there. He's still showing you, because he's giving you that clarity. He's right there to take you to that tranquil space so that you can set your household up to not be like the horrors of this world. You obviously grew up like that with the Queen of Swords in the leaving it behind position, in the past tense position. Like, you grew up rough. You grew up hard. Now I hear Marvin Gaye. He grew up hard. That song, it's like a cappella. It's on the soundtrack of the movie Four Brothers. I grew up hard. I think that's the name of it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Put it in the comments. But he, I'm gonna make a short with that song. I come up hard or something like that. But that was you. And you had to protect your innocence. Like, people like that were designed to teach you to protect your innocence, because the Queen of Swords was at one time the Queen of Cups. And they learned the hard way. It's like, I learned my lesson. I can't wear my heart on my sleeve like that. I gotta be tough, especially when I got people dependent on me. So that's a part of you, a big part of you. And then you also gotta know that these people that's dependent on me deserve my love. I don't want to be too like, they're not my enemies. Like, it's not their fault. You know, I don't want it to come out at them. So you gotta strike the balance of your heart space and your logic. Especially, it depends on who you're talking to. That's something to think about. That's something to pray on. Always, you gotta keep praying on it. So you gotta make sure that you keep up with your mental health. You know, if you don't move to that peaceful space, that's a prayer card to me. With the Six of Swords, moving to calmer waters, leaving off the tumultuous. That's how you ward gens off of you like that. So you're not coming off too aggressive. Because sometimes it's not you talking, it's the gens that's trying to manifest, trying to live in your house. But if you're a prayer warrior, that keeps them out automatically. No two spirits live in the same house at the same time. Because you keep talking about God, that's going to get them out of there. And that's the point of talking to God, is to keep them out of there. So you're one of those people who take after your ancestors. There's no roaches in your house. There's no mice in your house. There's no food on the floor. There's nothing out of place. And that's the reason why it's like that. It's because they kept God front and center, so he can keep the gens out. Those are all discombobulated. Everything's in disarray. Everything is trash. It smells weird. Roaches, mice. You know the devil lives there. And the devil and those people who run a house, it lacks management. It lacks direction. It lacks guidance. Don't be fooled. You can't go in there and help somebody who don't want to help themselves. They have to go to God themselves, just like you did. Okay? That's why you never grew up. That's why when you grew up, your space, who I'm talking to, your space does not reflect that, because you learned early in life, that's not what I want. That's not safe. I don't feel safe like that. And a lot of this is from child rearing ages. With the Page of Cups here, the overall challenge is implementing everything you learned and apply it to your family. So see how blessed you are with gentleness, patience, nature, true nature, human nature. You respect humanity, strength, healing abilities. You come with a lot of healing. You might have healed your parents, just like your grandparents taught you how to tap into your inner strength. And now you could take that out the door with you. You come out the door prepared, obviously, with the Queen of, being the Queen of Wands, after being raised by Queen of Cups and Queen of Swords. You got this. If you ever think you're doing a bad job, you got the Ace of Swords right there. That's giving you the mental clarity. I'm the only judge. I decide if you're doing a great job or not. And you're doing a fabulous job. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and keep up the great work, and take your time and water your garden through prayer.